Hi again, and it's a couple of days later. I've been doing other things in the meantime, but I'm going to show you the pieces that I was doing with stencil paste the other day, and I'm also going to show you how I foil with my laminator. Now, I've only just turned it on to heat up, so it's going to take it a few minutes to get ready. But you can see it's just a basic laminator. It's on-off switch, that's it. No heat settings, pressure settings, speed or anything, just a basic laminator. And I think I picked this one up for, well, Tesco's were actually having a sale at the time and were selling them off, and I think it cost me about £15. But you can pick them up from quite a lot of places, Amazon included, for around about that price. But before you attempt to do any foiling, you do need to make sure it's well and truly warmed up. So get it started up in plenty of time and wait until it's actually showing as being ready. But in the meantime, while that's warming up, I'll show you some of the foils, and I'll show you the pieces that I did with stencil paste the other day. We'll start with those. So I've got a number of pieces that used a sweet poppy stencil with Christmas signpost on it, done in a red glitter paste. That again was one that I made up myself by adding red glitter to translucent paste. We've got a white paste on blue, white paste on red. This is a pale blue glitter that I used up. It was the last of a tub that I'd been gifted from the Cosmic Shimmer glitter paste, so I used that on that one. And this one has a clear crystal glitter into translucent paste. Now the holly backgrounds, that black one is one of those that we're going to be foiling today. We've got gold paste with glamour dust sprinkled onto it. The sweet poppy dark green paste with glamour dust sprinkled on twice. This was a green paste I made up using distress inker into translucent paste and adding some glitter to it. This one used translucent paste, no it didn't, I'm sorry. This one used Dreamweaver copper embossing paste and some copper glitter and some green glitter. This one was gold glitter, gold stencil paste with gold glitter and green glitter, and then I did a silver paste with silver glitter and green glitter. So I'm going to put those to one side out of the way. There's quite a bit of glitter shedding, you can see there. Oh, this was the one I did onto a brush hose background, and I really like that background because it just sort of reminds me of a blizzard in the background. Pop that to one side. There's 3 more that I did on brush hose backgrounds, and again I'm going to foil these. The same with these baubles. I'm going to be foiling those as well. This was a brush hose background, and it also included some of the brush hose sprinkle it, the copper one, which you can hopefully make out in the background there, the glimmer from the copper. This is the same stencil. This time I added ultra fine glitter to the wet paste. And that one's dried. And then I used another stencil, which is a Christmas wreath with circles, and that one was done with pale blue pearl blue, pearl lilac and silver embossing paste. This one's just gold embossing paste, and this one was a gold and green embossing paste. And all of them except the one that used the copper paste are sweet poppy stencil pastes. Now as for foil, there's a lot of places to get foil, and in my blog post I will put links to these, but you can see Wow embossing powders, they make a range of foils. The Sticks To company make a range of foils. The only possible drawback with theirs is that they are small squares. What are they? They are 3.5 inches by 4 inches. But if you're doing small projects, they're fine, and you do, I think, get 2 or 3 of each colour. There's also a company online called Tonatex Foils, and they have a huge range of colours. I'll just show you some of them here. Plain colours as well as some really fancy ones, and I love that copper one. I keep all my pieces for later use. They also do it in rolls, and this you can see is a holographic, and it looks really nice. And I've also bought some sheets from, I think they were on eBay, which are quite nice and sparkly. Crafter's Companion make a range of foils. I've got quite a big range. I've just got 2 of those. Oops, throw it about. This one is Spellbinders Glimmer System. I've got a roll of that. These little rolls I picked up in the Works, 3, 6, 9, and it was 10, and I think they were probably about £2.99 for the whole set. So there's quite a lot out and about there. And then I've got some other rolls, and again I think most of these came from Tonatex. So I use one of the Sizzix die pouches to keep offcuts in, and also one of these plastic wallets to keep them in. So pop those all over there. Now to feed it through you need some sort of carrier sheet, and I picked up a cheap A3 drawing pad from a pound store and just cut it down to be wide enough to go into my machine. And I found it helps if you put a sheet of cardstock in that you put your piece of work onto. It helps to keep it flat and keep it level for when you feed it through, and I need to trim that down. So I'm going to do that quickly. Just means I won't run the risk of missing any bits if I do that. So yeah, that's better. And I'm going to do that one in green, which I've got here, as it's holly. And the one thing with this is, it doesn't matter if you overlap it, because the only part that sticks is the part that's actually touching your stencil paste. So the parts that aren't touching it won't stick to anything, and it won't stick to itself either. So I'm going to cut another piece, trim it up the middle more or less. Pop those back into the packet out of the way. And something else I mentioned the other day was if you mixed up your own paste, your own custom colours, and you had any left over, you could just store it in small plastic tubs, which you can do, that's fine. Something else you can do is just spread it onto a scrap piece of cardstock, an offcut of cardstock, because then you can put some foil on it, and we'll do this so you'll see what I mean. Put some foil on it, and you've then got foiled cardstock that you can cut sentiments from, or embellishments even if you wanted to. So that's another way of using up any leftover amounts of foil, not foil, sorry, stencil paste that you might have. These are some pieces that I did a while ago that they're just done with stencil paste. Quite a few of these use some of the Tim Holtz stencils, so you can use any stencil for it. A lot of these have had glamour dust sprinkled on them. But you get some fab backgrounds. So I really enjoy working with the stencil paste. There's so many ways that you can make them look different. And when you put your foil on, it's always pretty side up. And I'm saying that because the first time I did, the first 4 or 5 times I tried doing it, nothing was sticking. And I was putting it, I realised after a bit of an internet search that I was actually putting it on upside down, and I was putting it pretty side down. So it's always pretty side up. And make sure you have it covered by your carrier sheet, because I'm not entirely sure what would happen with your laminator if the foil actually contacted the heat source. With most of them, the heat source is at the top. So that's one bonus with putting the piece of card underneath. It just helped to lift it up slightly closer to the heat source. And while that's doing, I'm going to find some other pieces of foil, because this is one of those things that you can prepare one while the first one is going through. And it really doesn't matter about the colour of the paste underneath your foil. So that's why you can use up your scrap pieces and your spare leftover pastes. And you can put any colour you like on top of it, it doesn't matter. Looks an interesting red. It would be even more interesting if I could find the end. Oh, it's actually just a plain red. It looked through that plastic as though it had some sort of fancy pattern to it, but it doesn't. So we've gone all the way through with that. And now we do the reveal. Now we have really nice foiled background. The holly. So pop that one away, bring this back, put the next one in, and this is one of the leftover paste sheets, so you'll see what I mean about getting a complete piece that you can cut things from. Have silver with one of the others. Silver's always useful for cutting sentiments from. Excuse the time taken to try and get these open. Pulling it the wrong way. Just cut that piece off. Take that one out. Pop this one in. Let that feed through. As you can see there, a little bit missed at that end. I think maybe it got squished a little bit, but as you can see, you've got something that you can die cut from. Now another thing you can do, and which is why I save all of my pieces, because you don't have to use just one single colour. You can use a multitude of pieces. I don't think this one's going to work. That one's not quite big enough. Let's take that one out. There's a little packet there. So it's a bit fiddly, and it does require a little bit of patience if you're going to try and use more than one colour onto an image like this. Like I say, it doesn't matter that they overlap, because the only parts that will stick are the parts that are actually in contact with the paste. And we'll feed that one through. Gather up a lot of our bits. And now let's have a look at this one that we've just done with 3 colours. We have a red bauble, we have a blue bauble, and we have a silver bauble. Again, you do get some odd little stray flecks, and they're really easy to brush off. You have a stencil brush, for instance, they brush off really easily. Now you can see what's happened there, hopefully, is a little bit of the foil has actually stuck to the background, and I've had that happen pardon me, on 1 or 2 occasions. And what I've found is these Tombow Mono Sand Erasers, and I'm pretty sure I saw Jennifer Maguire recommending these for getting rid of stray flecks of embossing powder after you've heat embossed it. It rubs off really well with these, but I've also found that it takes off any odd little bits of foil that may have stuck to the background, and I've had that happen with one or two, and not just cheap brands either. So it just seems, maybe it's static, I don't know, but they work for that. These are a really good buy. You can get them off Amazon, and they're really handy to have in your stash because they do help with all sorts of things. So I've got black on that one. A little bit of holographic on this one, shall we? It's a bit staticky, this stuff, so it tends to flick around all over the place. And I'm not normally trying to do this while I'm recording it on video, which is also not helping any. And what had red? What else have we got in here? I don't know whether that might just not quite. I don't know. Right. So it's definitely worth holding on to all your offcuts because you can use them. It's fiddly, but you can use them. And it would have helped if I'd had this on the piece of cardstock before I tried to move it. That is another benefit to having it placed onto a piece of cardstock. It does keep it much more stable when you're trying to get it ready to post through your laminator. So there, get that one going through. Laminate that one in a moment. And I'm not going to do all of them, I'm just going to do a few so you can see. And I'm going to use some holographic on this one because I think that's going to look really cool on that dragonfly. Put that to one side just for a moment and put in our dragonfly. And feed that through while we uncover this one. Right, this one's not worked quite as well as I would have hoped, and I think that may be down to the fact that it's Dreamweaver paste rather than the Sweet Poppy one, because I've used it before and it doesn't take the foil quite as well, but we'll see what we can do with it. Let's try some pearlescent blue for these butterflies. I just wish they'd be a little less, or use something a little less sticky to hold them closed. I'm not going to do it in one that way, so we'll do it this way. Just make sure that you don't move the foil when you fold your paper onto it. And there we have our dragonfly with his nicely iridescent looking wings. Two more there, so let's try this one. And it doesn't matter that it's got some paper stuck to the top, because that piece actually peels off. As you can see, it has a clear coating on the top, so anything that's stuck on there isn't going to stick to your image. And there we have the pastel blue butterflies, and I'm going to try and do something with this area down here. That's not from the foil, that's because I was a little bit careless with spreading the paste and some of it seeped under the edges of the stencil, but that may be fixable, we'll see. And the last one that I'm going to do for now is going through, and then one thing I am going to do with this one is I'm just going to use lots of my bits up to cover the last I'm going to use that, I think, and just see what else I've got in here that is quite large. Yeah, and that will do that end. And then I've got two more pieces that I can use for die cutting sentiments from. Pop that there. Okay, I'm going to have a problem with that one because that's not going to cover entirely, so I'm just going to trim a little bit off the end because I don't want it ending up inside the laminator or on the rollers. Quite apart from the damage it could do to the laminator, I would imagine there's always a bit of a risk of that being a fire hazard. And once we've got that one finished, that will be me done with this part of the video, and we'll come back and trim these down and turn them into cards. I now have another piece that I can die cut sentiments from.